Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this webinar. This is an initiative from InPrism Insight. We do these webinars every Saturday. After lockdown, we thought it will be a great initiative to educate our investors. We are doing it for existing customers and also the new customers who are joining it. We try to value add to the financial literacy in our country. So this big time lagging in our country. We always miss people don't have the knowledge of doing it themselves. So last session, a couple of webinars we already done last Saturday and before last Saturday also we have done a couple of webinars. So if you're not attended that webinar, please you can go to our YouTube channel and you can be able to see that. The complete webinar may not be available because some information has been removed as per the public disclosure. However, most of the content will be available. We'll be able to go back and check. Last Saturday we did a webinar about importance of emergency funds and and to know more about credit cards. So I believe it will definitely evaluate your knowledge. So beyond that, as InPrism, we are dedicated to customers' wealth creation. So these are what are the discussions we do in the webinar. Categorically, we follow at our organization in every level. A few of my existing customers also joined in the webinar. I think it is repetitive for them. We speak in the same language what we speak now. Okay, so let's start. So let me introduce myself. My name is Sudhindra Rao. I own this organization. I'm the founder and CEO. I come with rich experience of 15 years in the finance services industry, and also I am in this business from last 10 years. We deal with a lot of personal financial management, wealth management, asset management, risk management, and so on and so forth. So today I've taken this decoding Indian mutual fund categories because last week there is a big news roaming around on Franklin Templeton that schemes have been closed. So what is that about? So I will try to cover up a little bit of that, but not more because that is not the agenda. The agenda is to educate our investors about actually how mutual funds are being categorized in India. So you should know about it so that you'll be able to understand when the discussion is happening with your financial advisors or somebody else. We'll move forward. So just to remind you, everybody will be in a mute mode. Will be an opportunity for you to ask questions at the last. So I'll try to cover up this session in 30 minutes. Typically, it may not be possible, but however I'll try my best to close it by 30 minutes to maximum by 40 minutes, and then I will take question and answers. I would like to leave more opportunity for people to ask questions. So there is a question and answer window available in the chat box. You can ask questions there, and or else we will definitely raise your hand at the end of the session. We will allow you to speak, so it will be benefit of everybody. We will be able to answer those questions. So before we take it forward, disclaimer: mutual fund is subject to market risk. Please read the offer document carefully before investing. So this has been come because of the fact of that what kind of risk is involved in it. So do it yourself is definitely not recommended at these levels because people do not know the importance of advisor. So when tough times are around, you need a lot of information. Right decisions should be taken. So this disclaimer concludes to most of the people that definitely risk is involved, and when there is a risk is involved, the reward will also be involved. So look at there's an opportunity being a part of the investment in mutual fund industry, which will help you to grow your wealth. Mutual fund category is broadly broken into 5 pieces. So this is more or less a SEBI categorization, but the others category is I will explain you in detail in the coming slides. The category, so you can see the base of the pyramid, which is the base backbone is the debt mutual funds, which is a replacement of your, we call it as fixed income products. Okay, followed by other funds. Other funds are fund of funds. There are a lot of index funds and so on and so forth that I will discuss in detail. Solution-oriented funds has been introduced by SEBI so that you have a clarity where you're investing your money. Hybrid and equity. So the pyramid shows the equity is very risky. Hybrid is less risky than equity. Solution oriented are better, less riskier because they are long term or solution oriented investments, other funds, and debt. This is a broad breakup of mutual fund categories in India. Earlier, this kind of a clear cut mandate was not there. So it was been allowed. The permissions were given to the asset management companies to build their funds however they want. So few mutual fund companies had 500, 600 funds also. So which made people to get confused. So to get things into the track, so they have made this categorization. It happened in October 2017, and given a 6 months time for them to get used to this new categorizations. So from 2018 April onwards, this new category is applicable. So a few of our existing customers we have informed, and few funds we have exited also because of their change in mandate. This is a source from SEBI and AMFI. Why categorization? It is the right question from the industry point of view. Will not be meaningfully change anybody's life in the investors' point of view. However, the categorization change has happened because to bring a level playing field, because there are a lot of funds were talking in a different language. For example, somebody was calling large cap as large cap, somebody is calling mid cap as large cap. There was no specific categorization, so there was no debt fund clarity on the debt funds. So they have to bring the level playing field to compare apple to apple is better. So they got this categorization. Avoid unnecessary new fund offers. So I'll give an example. 2015, 16, 2013, 14 period. Mr. Modi became the Prime Minister for the first time. A lot of mutual fund companies came out with new fund offers on the same series. For example, Value Fund 1, Value Fund 2, Growth Fund 1, Growth Fund 2, Small Cap 1, Small Cap 2, Large Cap 1, Large Cap 2, Multi Cap 1, something like that. So which basically the same kind of category of the fund you are launching again and again to just to give it 10 rupees. It doesn't have any meaningful value addition to the client's portfolio. So to avoid such kind of a unnecessary clutter in the portfolios, the SEBI made this. Bringing discipline in asset management. See, if you have one large cap fund that they have come out with this regulation, it clearly says that in each category, any mutual fund company can have only one fund. So they cannot have multiple funds. For example, I have large cap 1, large cap 2, large cap 3. I have credit risk fund, credit risk fund 2, or I will have low duration fund 1, 2. Kind of thing will not exist. It was there earlier. There is a real clutter. So they made all the AMCs to come together, come out with a single mode of funds, so that you can easily do the comparison. Asset allocation standardization has been done. In this categorization, SEBI also done a phenomenal job by telling what do you mean by a specific category of a fund. That was actually missing. So this was where we had a big job to do earlier days when categorization was not there. We informed our investors what is actually true large cap, what is true low duration fund, or what is true hybrid fund. Because there are a lot of funds were taking the same name, but they were not maintaining the mandate. So to avoid that, this asset allocation standardization will bring into place. Reducing the cost. Yes, if the only one fund is there, for example, if there is an asset management company has launched a hybrid fund, so if the fund assets are under management is about 50,000 crores, as a process now, more and more the assets are under management, the cost of the asset charges will come down. It is good for the investors, it is good for everybody. So to get that also, they have made this reduction in cost doing categorizations. Bring transparency. Yes. So now every AMC's one category fund you can pull out. You'll be able to see the performances. You'll be able to see their benchmark returns versus their performance. All other categorizations. It also helped to people who are financially literate people. They made their life easy, so that they can take quick decisions and take it forward. So it's only for people who are do it yourself. But I don't recommend anybody to do it yourself, because there are a lot of rational decisions are necessary. We'll move forward. How mutual funds are being categorized. So that why it has been done, I will explain to you now how it has been. So it has been done. Scheme classifications has been done. In categorization, what kind of key schemes will have. The naming of the scheme has been done. So earlier people were calling their own names. For example, they're calling it as Frontline Equity Fund, they're calling it as Top 200 Fund, they're calling it as Equity Fund. So they did not had any specific names. So long-term equity fund. So to make sure that they fall under similar category, so they rename the funds also. So there are certain mandate has been given where they can call only those categories with the same name, so that people are able to recognize it in a simple way. So the clutter of different names has been removed. For example, mid cap fund has been called as emerging blue chip, emerging equities, okay, future large cap. So these kind of names will confuse because only people in our industry like us can understand. So not everybody. So that has been removed, and they said you can only call this as a mid cap fund. Simple. Uniform locking period introduced. So there are a lot of schemes where there are locking periods for there. For example, equity linked savings schemes, there are retirement funds, there are children's education funds, and there are certain funds we had locking periods where some people were managing with locking periods, some people were not managing with the locking periods. They made standardization of locking period, and they also made modifications in attributes. So attribute modification, I will not bore with the jargons. Attribute modifications basically means how you should do the investment philosophy. So what is the investment philosophy you have? What is the investment mandate you have? If, for example, if your fund is a large cap fund, the SEBI has clearly told that what is large cap and where you should invest that large cap money in. So that to that extent they have given the clarity, so that fund managers cannot play around with that money, with public's money, because mutual fund industry is all about mutually invested money from the public. So they given a investment mandate also, so that they are very clear about where to invest and how to invest. And also they had categorized on a benchmark. So it may not be too value add for the investor point of view, but when you do it yourself, when you become literate, and you need to understand how the fund is doing versus the benchmark. So earlier, each mutual fund schemes were having its own benchmarks. So if, for example, if large cap of ABC company is keeping it Nifty as a benchmark, XYZ company was keeping a Nifty 500 as a benchmark. So that was not necessary. So they have removed and they made a simple benchmark so that you can compare the performance or underperformance or outperformance depending upon the benchmark. So we'll come to equity funds. So there are about 9 categories, actually 10, 12 categories actually. Out of that, I have broadly categorized the important categories which you should know. There's a fund, there's a category called large cap. This is what I was talking about. They've categorized, the name of the renaming of the scheme is large cap. In this large cap, they have made focused, large and mid cap, multi cap, equity linked savings scheme ELSS, mid cap, small cap, contra, dividend yield, and value scales. Okay, I've actually put the numbers as per the risk appetite also. So large caps are less riskier compared to your contra, dividend, or value. So let me derive what do you mean by large cap as per the regulation of SEBI. Any fund which has to be invested in 80% of their assets in top 100 companies. So every 6 months, SEBI will release the list of top 100 companies in the country. So mutual fund companies can only invest in those top 100 companies. For example, if the fund is 100 crores fund, large cap fund, the 100 crores, 80 crores has to go to these top 100 company stocks. 20% can be kept in cash, or can be kept in mid cap, small cap, wherever they want. So, but 80% mandate has to be there. So this clarity was not there earlier before the categorization has been done. Focused up to 65% of the money can be invested wherever they want. Usually it is done on focused only maximum 30 stocks. So that means this has been category. It's a little bit riskier category, but they believe you have to invest the 65% of the money in only 30 stocks. So predominantly most of the AMCs follow large cap strategy in this, because you only 30 stocks is too risky, because some funds require more stocks. So in that category, they only maintain large cap, so that they are safe enough, because the number of stocks are very low. Large and mid cap. So here also they say minimum they should have 35% of large cap and 35% of mid cap. That means up to 70% of large and mid cap will be there, and the 30% is the choice given to the fund manager, where he meaningfully change the value, or he can value add to the portfolio. So for example, if a large and mid cap fund, 35% is in large cap, he can have another 65% in mid cap, or he can have 35% in mid cap and 65% in large cap. Both will help. Or he can have 35 70% in large and mid cap, and he can have 30% in small cap also, which is allowed. Multi cap, minimum 65% should be in equity instruments and equity related instruments. What do you mean by there is no cap bias here? The minimum investment should be done 65%. I will explain you what is why 65% later. So the minimum investment should be done 65% in equity. So there is no cap bias here. The fund manager has all the freedom to invest wherever he wants. You believe that you want to put all the money in large cap, you can put. If you want believe that you can put all the money in mid cap, you can put 100% in large cap, small cap, mid cap, or you can do a combination of it however he wants. So multi-cap funds will actually determine the real value of a fund manager. The fund managers, way of taking decisions at the different market intervals will show the performance of a multi-cap fund. So definitely it is riskier than large and mid cap. We'll come to ELSS category, equity linked savings scheme. Here also it's a multi-cap strategy. Some few AMCs follow a large cap strategy here, and few AMCs follow a mid and small cap strategy here. But equity linked savings scheme are the schemes where customer can avail ATC benefit under section ATC, where up to 1.5 lakh rupees invested here will be exonerated from the tax. So this comes with a minimum lock-in period of 3 years, which is the least lock-in period compared to any other asset classes available today for tax saving. Mid cap, so minimum 65% should be invested in mid cap. What is mid cap also they derived? The mid cap is 101 to 250 companies in the country. As I told you in the large cap, there is a list will be disclosed available in the SEBI website and the AMFI website also. 101 to 250 companies. So there is a spread of 150 companies available for the fund managers to invest into mid cap. And small cap, minimum investment of 65% has to go to 250 and above companies. So where they are called as small caps, but it is a small basket because we have 5,000 companies listed. Small cap has an opportunity to invest from 251 to 5,000 companies. It's a big basket. Small caps comes with huge risk. Last 1 year, from last 3 months, some small caps have fallen almost 30%, 35%, 40% in a week's time, and as high as 50% also. So the small caps are risky funds, but over a period of long term, high risk and high return is always been there as an opportunity. So if somebody is looking at a very long time and he knows the risk, he can definitely consider it. Contra is basically a reversal of economical call. For example, if the banking sector is going to do well, so you will not go to banking sector. So you are taking contra call. You are taking exactly. For example, recent contra calls were telecom industry. The whole telecom industry was sinking. A few contra funds took a call in Bharti Airtel. They took some money in Reliance Industries. Actually, they made a lot of money. So Bharti Airtel has done a great job by validating it. The dividend yield fund. The dividend yield fund is going to invest only into the stocks where there's a high dividend yield. So which is very few people. It's not a big category in India, so I'm not categorized separately. And also value fund. So value is basically you understand value investing. So I may do a webinar on value investing also in the future sessions. So this value investing is you have to invest only into the value category where the intrinsic value of the stocks have been lower compared to the current trends of the market. So this is a vast subject. I think we require a couple of hours to discuss only this. So we will take it forward. The hybrid category. So the name itself suggests hybrid. It's a combination of equity and debt. Here also the clear-cut mandate has been given and the name has been clearly named. So the hybrid category. The first category comes as conservative hybrid. So any AMC, if you go and buy, there's a fund. Any fund is called ABC Conservative Hybrid. The name will be like that. So this conservative hybrid fund has to invest minimum 75% to 90% in debt instruments, which is safer instruments. Only it has allowed to invest 10 to 25% into equity. So balance is basically 40 to 60% should be in debt, 40 to 60% should be in equity. So these funds are not popular in India as of now because we don't have much of funds here because of the taxation point of view. I forgot to tell you in the equity funds why the 65% cap is there. As per the Income Tax Act 1961, any investment done in mutual funds carries asset allocation more than 65% into equity will attract equity taxation. So the equity taxation. So anybody who owns more than 1 year 365 days, 10% tax on the long-term capital gain. If somebody owns an investment less than 1 year, 15% he has to pay on the short-term capital gain. So balance category, 40 to 60% in debt and 40 to 60% in equity. This is a balance category. Aggressive hybrid is slightly popular category in India because people consider instead of going into debt equity, instead of debt equity mutual fund, people prefer to go because the maximum allocation, it's as good as an equity fund. You can see, 80 up to 80% you can go to equity. So 65% to 80% in equity and 20 to 35% in debt. So aggressive hybrid will help. So I will do a separate session on why you should own hybrid funds, what is the advantages of it as a retail investor. One more category, dynamic asset allocation fund and balance advantage fund category. This has been managed dynamically. So this is again like a multi-cap fund in equity. The fund manager will play a vital role here to make difference in the portfolio management, and actually he will create a wealth. This is also much less riskier than equity funds. To assess the risk, there is a parameter called standard deviation. So we should go and check. So in most of the websites available for the benefit of investors, we don't want to cover a calculation points of view. There are a lot of things we should cover: alpha, beta, standard deviation. Depending upon the portfolio allocation, sector-wise allocation, a lot of things we see before we recommend the fund. That's why. So the risk management is definitely with us. So we are very prudent in executing those things, and I think most of our investors would have already experienced it. Multi-asset allocation fund. So here customers can invest. Usually fund managers are allowed to invest in gold, commodity gold, debt and equity. 3 asset classes are mandatory. In future, if the approval comes, real estate and other commodities may come in. So currently, minimum 10% has to be invested in at least 3 asset classes at all the times. That's a minimum criteria. Arbitrage is a debt instrument execution model. Whatever, it's a vast subject again. So I will say just as it's as good as your debt fund. It's as good as the FD. So with the equity taxation. So if you have any money to invest for next 2 years where you don't want to take a risk at all in the portfolio, so you can go to arbitrage fund. It will give 66.5% return with 10% tax only. If somebody is at 30% slab, where you have to pay 30% in your fixed deposits. Equity savings fund, this is a new category introduced. So here 10% minimum it should be in debt and 65% should be with hedge in equity. So here also predominantly 30-35% will be in equity, not more than that. The rest will be managed in debt. So this is much less riskier than in conservative hybrid. See, I'll tell you, conservative hybrid, the balance, aggressive, DAF, multi-asset allocation are one category of hybrids. The two categories are the replacement of FT, that's why separately categorized. So arbitrage fund and equity savings fund are the replacement for people who are not experienced equity at all. I mean, not experienced mutual fund at all. So they can come as a first-time investor. They can experience this investment into stock market. We'll move forward. There's a category called solution-oriented funds. Currently, we don't have too much of solution-oriented funds. So we only have retirement fund and we have a children's fund today. So most of the people don't know that they can plan the retirement with mutual funds also. So I strongly recommend who are on the con call to start your SIP for retirement fund, irrespective whether you have a corpus or not, because this meaningfully locks your money for 5 years each. So for each category will do a locking for 5 years. And very good news about these both categories is that SEBI has given an opportunity to invest in retirement fund also equity, hybrid and debt. In children's plan also equity, hybrid and debt. But children's plan equity is not popular, so most of the equity funds are not available. Only hybrid and debt is available. So I think hybrid will be a better option for you to take the session. So I will cover a separate session or a webinar, importance of goal-based investing. So I think next session is available. Next Saturday we are doing a session on goal-based investing, importance of power of goal-based investing. The registration is already open. So the same link which you have got, you can click there. The topic has been changed. Very few seats available. It's almost we are 200 participants already there. So it's available till next weekend. So definitely register, and definitely we will tell you, we'll evaluate your thought process. We'll move on. Other funds. So there are only two categories. There's a fund called Gold Fund. Most of the investors may not know about it. Gold Fund is a commodity fund. Currently, I told you in the beginning. So in future, we may also get a fund called Real Estate Fund. We may get Copper Fund. We may get Aluminium Fund. We don't know, but currently there are only gold fund available. See, I'll tell you how gold fund works. It's a fund of fund. They invest into the gold, physical gold, which is been stored by one of the company in South Africa. So typically, whatever the investment you do in this gold fund, the real gold has been bought and kept in storage. So advantages of the gold fund investment is that you don't have to have to keep security. No locker is available. It will be digital format, and whenever you want to buy a physical gold, just withdraw the money. It will be equivalent to the gold price, and you can go and take it. Just to remind you, last 1 year the gold fund returns are 48%. So that means gold has gone up. So this fund also has gone up, but last 5 years return is only 5%, which gold also not given a big change as such. Index funds are the funds where it is very popular in the US and advanced countries. Index funds is like buying a Nifty and buying a Sensex. But as in India, we are developing economy. The value of investing into the managed portfolio is better because fund managers can do a much better job than investing into index funds. Most of the times, fund managers beat the index funds by at least 2.5%. That's called alpha. But this category still exists. So, which is both the categories comes with very less cost because there's no much of management is required here. So, you can definitely choose. Women can buy a gold fund instead of going and putting a chit in a gold smith, because the chances of if he is not there or going out, maybe the chances here it is regulated by SEBI, and whenever they want they can definitely withdraw. If you have a daughter, you want to gift her a gold for her wedding, start an SIP in gold fund. Don't look at return, just think that you are accumulating in gold. When you require a ornament, you just go there at that time and just do the ornament that time. We'll move to debt funds quickly. So debt funds has been categorized 13 for category funds. I note to confuse you. So I have made only 9 categories here. So this is also too complex. So why I'm showing these things to you is because I see in in Facebook and in Twitter, in Quora, people ask, I've invested into this fund. What is your recommendation? Should I invest this money? Should I invest in debt fund, hybrid fund, equity fund? Please do understand it is a complex world. It is not so easy that what are the recommendations we give, what are the way of we manage your assets is not easy. So we dig into in detail about it, and we give a right choice for your investments. Overnight funds and liquid funds, it's actually replacement of your SB account, ideal for 1 to 91 days of investment. So most of people don't know about it, that you can invest also in liquid and overnight funds. So this is comes with the same debt taxation, which is your FT kind of a taxation. Unless and you hold more than 3 years, the taxation will vary. So I'm not going to cover taxation here because of the time constraint. So there's ultra short term fund, low duration funds, because ultra short term is another category, low duration is another category, overnight is also another category, and liquid is another category. I'm giving a broad thought. Okay. Ideal for 3 to 12 months of the investment. So if you have any money to keep aside for 3 to 12 months, then you definitely keep money here. Short-term funds, ideal for 1 to 3 years, which is the name itself says short-term. Medium-term funds available between 3 to 4 years, and PSU and banking and PSU funds. Now the importance has come after Franklin Templeton event. It's not only Franklin Templeton, other AMCs also have been. You can take Nippon, you can take BOIXA, you can take PGIM. The other AMCs also have defaulted. It is not that only Franklin Templeton has done, because unfortunately the liquidity crisis has come now and they have to shut the funds. It has not been done intentionally because we are a highly regulated industry. Nothing to worry about the safety point of view in the funds we invested in the Franklin Templeton or any other debt funds. Because like how S Bank has been secured and saved by just locking it for 15-20 days. They get back to normal. Same way here, they are just taking a measure to ensure that the investors' money is not been lost. So PSU and banking and PSU fund, 80% of the banking and PSU debt fund, it will be invested into the only bank and PSU debt papers. It's ideal for the 1 to 3 years. So you can, if you have any money, if you're looking at to invest into the bank FD, instead of that, you can definitely keep money here. Corporate bond fund, you can invest into corporate bonds. 80% of the money has to go to AA plus corporate bonds, ideal for 3 years and above. This is where the default things can happen. AA plus rating agencies gives a rating for the corporates. What is their ratings? For example, Infosys is a AAA company, so on and so forth. So depending upon the rating, AAA, AA plus, AA minus, AA, single A plus, a lot of things are there. So which is an in-depth discussion. Here, predominantly the money will go to little bit riskier funds than your PSU and banking fund. So this is a slightly riskier fund, but also you will make more money because when the corporate is in AA plus, the interest he borrows will be much expensive. So you will also get a more return. Credit risk fund, so corporate bond fund, credit risk fund, and medium term fund. These are the categories Franklin Templeton has shed their focus, even short term. Short term, low duration, medium term, corporate bond, and credit risk. These are the 5 categories they have shed the funds currently, just for information. 65% and below should be in AA corporate bonds. This is ideal for 3 to 5 years. Credit risk is more riskier than corporate bond because there the rating agencies has to give only AA and below rating, 65%, which is pretty risky, where you also have a more return on the investment. If you have a horizon of 3 to 5 years, you definitely should look at, if you instead of booking a 5 years FD, you can definitely book a 5 years corporate credit risk fund, which can definitely give you a great yield post tax, because the taxation in debt funds more than 3 years is only 20% of the return you make. And also remember, in debt mutual funds, the biggest advantage is no TDS, no need to give Form 15G, nothing. The day you realize the money, you have to pay tax, and that's a great advantage. It allows you to do the enjoy the compounding effect. Okay, dynamic bond fund. This is slightly riskier fund compared to other funds because this fund manages dynamically between the duration. So I don't take much time to explain what is duration and all. Here the duration is directly linked to the interest rate risk. So all the funds comes with the interest rate risk except ultra short term, low duration and overnight funds. So most of the funds comes under interest rate risk. So there is a yield to maturity, and there is a concept of direct linkage with the interest rate risk. So that's very high. So if the interest rate comes down, these funds will do very well. If the interest rate goes up, the funds will do negative. So currently, from last 2 years, because of this new government clauses, Reserve Bank of India is continuously reducing the interest rate. The dynamic funds are doing very well. Not necessary that in all the time dynamic bonds will do very well. And other funds are there. There are many funds, so I don't want to confuse you. So the other funds also invest across in debt papers in different categories. Depending upon your requirements, when you have anything, do let us know. Our team or ourselves can definitely give you, or you can do your homework before investing into debt funds. We'll move forward. So what is how to choose a fund? So after these things, so contact your financial advisor. If you have, I'm not telling only to come to us. You can talk to your financial advisor. They can definitely give you a meaningful difference in choosing these funds. Please do talk to your team. Talk to us. We are happy to help you. We have a strong research desk. We have a strong risk management team where we definitely give value to your portfolios, and we do ensure that we will at any given point of time we will risk is the key. We will not make you to lose money. We follow Warren Buffett's statement very strongly and ensure that See, I do understand the last 1 week, 1 month or 2 months markets have fallen. It's a temporary loss. These kind of situations come. Consider it as an opportunity. Stick on to your portfolio. Stick on to your goals. Will definitely make meaningful change over a period of 1.5 years. Because every time when the markets have fallen in 1.5 years, there's a great return has come to people who have stayed invested. And you are also aware that COVID-19 is a different scenario altogether. This kind of experience nobody has seen. Most of the people in this, they have not seen their generations. So we have to live with it with keeping in mind your goals have been met. That's why we have made the next webinar is Power of Financial Goals. Please do attend. This very interesting subject. I think you will definitely enjoy. And also you can do it yourself. So I think maybe I believe regulator may come out with an option to come out with an examination where customers have to pass the examination. It is already live in US, Canada, Singapore, and other countries where if customer wants to invest himself, he has to write an exam. He has to pass. How we are also licensed. You can also please do contact us. So we have a single phone number. You can call 91411-27411 for any queries. If our existing customer, there is a new number we've introduced after this COVID-19 crisis, because everybody remotely working now. So anybody who calls this number will definitely address your queries. You can also WhatsApp this number. I believe you'd have received the same message of registration confirmation from the same number. you can write an email to help@infism.in, or you can visit our website infism.in. Okay, we are also there in social media. After some time after the session is over, we will upload this webinar also in our YouTube channel. We have a lot of videos made. Most of the videos have been in Kannada, and I'm trying to do more and more in English and Hindi. I'm not so good at Hindi, but I'll try to make it just to ensure that the message has been delivered to the right people. We are also there in Facebook. Please do follow us. We are in LinkedIn. We are in Twitter. Please do follow us. Definitely, give you a lot of information to you. We are also available in all social media. Try to contact us, and definitely our team is happy to help you. You can also follow me. You can see my videos in my YouTube channel. You can see I also active in Quora. You can see my LinkedIn profile is available to you. You can able to see. I also have Twitter handle Sudhindra IL, so you can able to follow me in Twitter. I'm happy to take any questions. So we'll open up the forum for any questions. I think I can see some people are asking questions. Somebody wants to ask question. If somebody wants to talk, you can raise your hand. Definitely allow you to speak. I can see some questions from session on debt funds is very informative. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your this thing. Contra funds, can you recap and elaborate? Okay. Contra call is basically you're taking a view against the market. For example, if you believe because of COVID-19 crisis, a lot of problems are happening. So if you start taking stocks of airline industry, if you start taking stocks of restaurants, if you're taking stocks of travel industry, then you are a contra. You are actually going against the market. It may work. Sometimes there are few people believe that going against it will be a better option. What is your opinion on PSU sector mutual funds? So there's no such PSU sector mutual funds that comes under equity. I don't know whether you're asking equity or you're asking debt. There are both categories. There are PSU mutual funds. So I think in equity category, the category the PSU fund is available where they only invest into PSUs. Not great, sir. I'll tell you, PSU funds are not equity. Okay, equity mutual funds. So PSU equity funds is again like a contra call. It's a sector-oriented fund. I recommend don't look at a sector-oriented fund except State Bank of India. No other PSUs is doing very well. They are in their own serious problems. I'll tell you. In private companies, the compensation structures are very good. It is on performance. It is driven by leaders. But in PSUs, the problem is it's owned by Government of India. IAS officers deal with it, and most of the people are pretty old people. I'm sorry to say this. They do not get into new technological acceptance factors will be tough because I'll tell you when the banking system changed drastically from bookkeeping to a digital world, it took a lot of time for PSU banks to get used to it. That is the period where HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, your IndusInd Bank has grown substantially. It has its own disadvantages. Except State Bank of India, I don't see any other PSUs are doing very well. So have a cautious call. I think if you want to take a contra call, they're happy to take it. The question from Anup talk about indexation benefit on debt schemes. It holds more than 3 years. It is not applicable in FD. Yes, that's why I told you, because taxation is very, very advantage for investors to invest in debt funds instead of FDs. It is, but problem is today after the event of Franklin Templeton, people are most worried. The intention should not think that I'm pushing something and I'm telling you something here. It's an education initiative from Infism. So the debt funds doesn't have a TDS on whenever you invest. So it is only on the maturity or when you withdraw the money you have to pay. If anybody holds more than 3 years in debt funds, the indexation benefit we call it as. Let me not use the indexation, but I'll simply tell you, if somebody owns more than 2 years, they'll calculate what is the inflation, the inflated value of your money, and then they tax at 20%. So typically, if you hold for 5-6 years, your taxation will be only 20% of the capital you have to pay, or maybe 5% of the capital you have to pay, depending upon the inflation, because it varies. As an investor going forward, what kind of evaluation you can expect, sir? Definitely, see, I'll tell you, there is a serious constraint we had. I'm sure you are not in Bangalore, Venugopal sir. We try to meet a lot of people now. Thanks to COVID-19, we have come out with lot of digital initiatives. So I have lot of videos to make. I have lined up lot of webinars to do. I will tell you, please do join our all every week. Every week webinars. We continue to give a lot of free data, lot of information to you, which can definitely make meaningful change in your portfolios. And we are happy to talk to you in person because this is it's a matter of money. Confidential will be the factor. I'm sure you will also agree with me that the data confidentiality has been kept in serious priority. So we have never shared any of people's portfolios to anybody. Even by mistake also it never happened, and we tend to use that. See, I'll tell you, sir, when you really want to make money, so if you answer your question simple way, I personally believe in my business. If you really want to make money, it should be a boring process. It should never be an exciting process. If you are in the exciting process, that means you are actually not going to make money. See, for example, if you take a simple example, if you go for a race, then you get excited. You say, "Come on, come on, come on." You will never make money. The chances are very, very less. Or if you play, online games today, they say somebody was coming and telling me, MSPL, you play. I made 40,000 rupees from my livelihood. It's easy to tell you, to make a livelihood from a game. It's not going to happen. But we are very, very boring. We stick on to the principles. We do not change the funds whenever necessary. Our funds, I'm sure you also would have been questioned many times why you are not changing the fund even under performance, because the underlying portfolios are not changed, the underlying fundamentals are not changed. There's no meaning in changing the portfolios. So we stick to the our standard process of recommending the funds. We have a whitelisted funds. We only shortlisted 40-45 funds in our organization. In spite of thousand, you can see, you just seen the categories of funds itself. Think about each AMC, 44 into 50. In that, we are only recommended only so a few. Praveen has asked. We often see that if the EM size crosses threshold, then the growth rate would be less. How do you know what is the threshold? Sir, this is a wrong assumption. So it doesn't work like that. Irrespective of your size of the AUM, the portfolio return will not change. In that case, that means you're telling me that Mukesh Ambani owns 60-65% of Reliance Industries, which is a major stake. So he has to underperform. He's not doing it. So he's actually making more money than other people. It's not like that. So that's a wrong myth. Yeah, there are some disadvantages of having a big AUM, but let's not worry about it. That's I believe it's our cup of tea. We will handle it right. Hope I've answered all your questions. So I believe it has definitely validated your portfolios. So I recommend you to inform your family and friends also to join next webinar, so it can definitely give you more value addition. So don't forget to register yourself for next week webinar. We are talking about power of financial goals. So we will talk about the importance of financial goals. We'll talk about why you should have financial goals, how to track your goals, so on and so forth. So you see you in the next webinar session, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time.